Namaste. Hello.
So nice to see you again.
Yeah, so nice to see you too.
You're good?
Yes, very good.
All right.
How are you?
Good, good. Very good. Very relaxed after some time away from the routine.
Oh, nice. Did you leave the
Yeah.
country? Were you in a different country, or
We were
as you've
in
mentioned jet
Germany.
lag? Okay.
Yeah, we were in Germany and Portugal.
Oh, cool. Checking out the foreseeable future.
Yeah.
Great.
It was very nice there.
Yeah.
Friendly people, low prices, nice weather,
Yeah.
easy transit between cities. We didn't have a
Mm.
car, so it
Okay.
was all bus and train. So and we got around okay. So
Yeah. That's great.
yeah.
Cool. Hold on now. I'm just going to make it bigger. I need more of you.
Oh my.
There we go.
All right then. So I have us on chapter 31.
I think we're on chapter 31. I think I read chapter 31. I think I might have just read it online, did I?
I think you read a few bits of it. Yeah.
Oh, okay, not all of it.
Do you want to
No, we
what do you
can do
want
it.
what would you like to do?
I don't really have anything I'd like to do. But I was a bit excited about chapter 32.
Shall
I'd
we
go
jump
for
to
the
that one?
chapter. Yeah. Sure, they're all the same anyway.
So my story about chapter 32 is this is the one where watching Amba read it, there was this incredible feeling that I was hearing directly from the self.
Yeah.
It's just the self speaking to the self. It was incredible, and it was. We've been meeting for more than a year now.
Have we?
I remember I wished you happy birthday a year ago. Yeah, and you've since had another birthday.
Yeah. Well. So
At any
happy
rate,
birthday to us then.
but there you go.
When I think of chapter 32, I have no idea what's in it, but somehow I feel like maybe I have a memory of reading that before. And I just feel like I really like chapter 32. I feel like it's something great. I don't know what it is though.
No, it's a very powerful chapter for sure. For sure. It's called Attaining the Nature of the Supreme by the Bhava, attitude or conviction of oneself being the supreme reality.
I
So
actually feel like probably like every single chapter, like that's actually enough. Like just the title is enough.
because it's so rich, isn't it?
It's like no matter what circumstance you find yourself in, if you just then kind of revert your attention or re-recognize the truth that I am actually the supreme Brahman, then whatever it is that's happening will dissolve really, or will be cared for by that. It doesn't necessarily dissolve straight away or something, but still it won't be that we're not identified with it or pulled into it. And like that's totally enough. And I feel like the more that we read this way of this type of teaching, I feel like it's like super direct, but I feel like it's becoming more and more alive here as well. Like, because there's all different kinds of things you can do. Like different, like if you have a challenge arising inside yourself or you find yourself identified with something, there's loads of different tools or ways to drop that identity, you know. And I find like more and more, I'm just getting more and more convinced in myself that like this is enough. You don't need any other tools. You don't need really anything else, and really just to have that conviction. And I'm not just convinced by a belief, but I'm convinced by when I adopt it, and that you just see it, like, and it's not like an idea thing. It's more like just that you recognize, okay, I am this truth, and something feels different. Because when you're in a challenge, for me, means like being identified with something. You're kind of identified with whatever energy it is that becomes present. But as soon as you just drop that identity, there's really no problem. Even if all the
Mm,
same challenge is still there and the same energies are still present, everything in one way is still the same. Yeah, it is very obvious as well that something changes. Like, it's felt, but it's very hard to put that into words, like what it is that happens or changes, because in a way, nothing really changes. Like, if you think about it with your mind, nothing changes, because I'm always the truth no matter what. And the energies are there. So then, just by recognizing it, somehow, just by recognizing it, there is something that qualitatively changes in us. But it's just really hard to put our finger on it and say, this is exactly what happens.
mm,
But I guess, like, you can say that we're not suffering from the identity.
mm.
Like, it's pretty obvious. So I feel like reading this with you, it's just like making that conviction deeper or something. It feels like.
There's certainly a change in energy from contraction to expansion, and that's sort of what came up while you were describing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm,
But in a way, it's not even that, because that's kind of easy to put your finger on and easy to put into words, like contraction or expansion. Because even expansion, let's say, even because sometimes you can be feeling really, there could be an expansion, but you could still be identified with a story, or you could
mm,
still be identified as, I am so open right now, or something. you know
mm, mm,
but
mm.
still, so it's something even more subtle than that somehow, but it's close though, somehow. I don't know.
Shall I start?
Yeah, sure, good.
Next to me is Luca, by the way. Here's Luca here.
Is it
He
the
wants
kitty
to
cat?
say, he wants to be recognized. Oh, no, he's a little shy now. Uh,
Oh, Luca.
yeah, he's Sophia's Luca, and he spent 4 hours 40 feet up in a tree yesterday. So it was
Oh,
quite a
really?
drama.
Oh,
Yeah, quite a drama. We actually had to call someone to help bring him down,
okay.
but he's good now. Okay. Nadaga, I shall further clearly tell you about the definition of the undivided truth, that there is not a thing apart from Brahman, that all that is there is the undivided supreme Brahman, and that we are that Brahman without a second. This exposition, which is given now, will immediately confer liberation. It will infuse joy and erase fatigue. It will make one be, by oneself, that Brahman. There is not an atom which can be said to be a thing apart. The self is the eternal, indestructible truth. The partless self is, indeed, of the nature of Brahman. Brahman is, indeed, of the shining nature of the self. In the certitude as explained that I am the supreme Brahman, which is not different from the self, and being rid of the affliction of the misery of birth and death, be ever the one supreme Brahman. When inquired into, what is seen as all is nothing but Brahman, existence, consciousness, bliss, and nothing apart in the least. What exists always is the supreme Brahman alone, the expanse of consciousness. Brahman, without a second, is your nature. There's not a shred of doubt in this. Hence, be of the conviction, bhava, without a doubt, that all is Brahman and that I am, and thus attain peace.
Can I read a few verses? Hmm?
Please.
I indeed am Brahman, existence, consciousness, bliss. I indeed am Brahman, the holy, perfectly full. I indeed am Brahman, the ever auspicious. I indeed am Brahman, the all-pervasive, the immaculate. I indeed am the undivided Supreme Brahman. I indeed am the non-dual Supreme Brahman. I indeed am the Supreme, I indeed am the pure Supreme Brahman. Being of such bhava, conviction, attitude, be relieved of weariness and be happy. I indeed am Brahman, which is a mass of bliss. I indeed am Brahman, without a trace of ignorance. I indeed am Brahman, which is endless. I indeed am Brahman, which stands exclusively as the truth. I indeed am Brahman, which is like the sky. I indeed am Brahman, which has no boundaries. I indeed am Brahman, which is established in silence. Being of such conviction, without delusion, be liberated. I indeed am ever the peaceful Supreme Brahman. I indeed am Brahman, which is totally devoid of distinguishing marks. I indeed am Brahman, which has no mind or such. I indeed am Brahman, which is of the nature of consciousness alone. I indeed am Brahman, of the fourth state, which has no attachments. I indeed am the Supreme Brahman, which transcends the fourth state. I indeed am the Supreme Brahman, which has no bondage. Being of such conviction, again and again, become yourself the Supreme. Love the way it says that, again and again. Because it's really like that, like again, again. And it's just like, it's like a joy. Again and again and again and again. I indeed am Brahman, which has not the least concept. I indeed am Brahman, which has neither sorrow nor joy. I indeed am Brahman, which has no debilitating delusion. I indeed am Brahman, which has no state of Mahat, cosmic consciousness, or an intermediate stage in creation before the appearance of individual jivas and such. I indeed am Brahman, which has none of whatever appears to exist here. I indeed am Brahman, which is one and completely perfectly full. I indeed am the Supreme Brahman, which is partless. Being of such conviction, attitude, again and again, become yourself the Supreme. I keep reading.
Please, I love the last lines of these verses.
Yeah.
Just as you said at the end of the previous verse, it's so beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It really does bring so much joy to read these words and to hear the words, like it fills your heart with joy. And I know it says there, what does it say? Something about not being joy or something. Where does it say that?
From what you just read, or a couple verses ago?
Oh, there, this verse. I indeed am Brahman, which has neither sorrow nor joy.
Yeah.
Because even that joy that's coming, like it's just from reading. But like, I don't know, that's not it.
We're referring to what the sorrow and joy appear in.
Yeah, exactly. I indeed am the Supreme Brahman, which pervades all as all. I indeed am the Supreme Brahman, which is spread out everywhere equally. I indeed am Brahman, which is not mixed up with action or such. I indeed am Brahman, which transcends time and such. I indeed am Brahman, which has no triad of any kind. I indeed am the supreme Brahman, which is the steadfast reality. I indeed am the supreme Brahman, which is the supreme Shiva. Being of such conviction, attitude, again and again, become yourself the supreme. I indeed am the supreme Brahman, which is eternal. I indeed am the supreme Brahman, which has none of the travails of transmigration. Does that mean like birth and death and rebirth kind of thing? Is that what transmigration means?
Yeah, and I
There's no
label
such
that,
thing as that.
indeed, and I label that as the worst kind of suffering. You
Yeah,
can't suffer any more than that.
yeah, yeah. That's basically everything. Everything that we know, seem to know. It's like birth and death, rebirth. Everything in between. Luckily, I indeed am the supreme Brahman, which has none of the travails of transmigration. I indeed am the supreme Brahman, which is not in the least tainted. I indeed am the supreme Brahman, which is greater than the greatest. I indeed am Brahman, which is the undivided expanse. I indeed am Brahman, which has neither beginning nor end. I indeed am the supreme Brahman, which has no attachments. Being of such conviction, again and again, become yourself the supreme. I indeed am the supreme Brahman, the ancient. I indeed am the supreme Brahman, which flourishes as the perfect fullness. I indeed am the supreme Brahman, which is afflictionless. I indeed am the supreme Brahman, which is without qualities. I indeed am Brahman, which has neither night nor day. I indeed am Brahman, which has neither light nor darkness or such. Being of the conviction attitude that I am the supreme Brahman, which is higher than the highest, become yourself the supreme. I indeed am Brahman, which has no illusory conditionings. I indeed am Brahman, which is the blemishless awareness. I indeed am Brahman, which is indicated by the word that. I indeed am Brahman, which is indicated by the word you. In the Mahavakya or aphorism, Tattvamasi, that you are. I indeed am the supreme Brahman, which is the merging in identity. I indeed am the supreme Brahman, which is the undifferentiated meaning. I indeed am the supreme Brahman, which has no diverse differences. Being of such conviction attitude, again and again, become yourself the supreme. I indeed am the supreme Brahman, which is established as truth. I indeed am the supreme Brahman, which is established as eternal bliss. I indeed am the Supreme Brahman, which is established full of consciousness. I indeed am the Supreme Brahman, which is established as the expanse of consciousness. I indeed am the Supreme Brahman, which remains filled with itself. I indeed am Brahman, which has nothing apart from itself. I indeed am the Supreme Brahman, which is not manifold. Being of such conviction, attitude, again and again, become yourself, the Supreme. I indeed am the Supreme Brahman, which is without connections and is without attachments. I indeed am the Supreme Brahman, which is unwavering and motionless. I indeed am the spotless Supreme Brahman, which shines undiminished. I indeed am the Supreme Brahman, which is changeless and eternal. I indeed am the Supreme Brahman, which is the one and which is omnipresent. I indeed am the Supreme Brahman, which is devoid of anything. I indeed am the Supreme Brahman, which is unfragmented. Being of such conviction, again and again, become yourself, the Supreme. Would you like to read a few verses?
I think around 14, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
I indeed am Brahman, which is beyond the reach of words and such. I indeed am Brahman, which is beyond the reach of the world. I indeed am Brahman, which is untouched by the bewildered mind. I indeed am Brahman, which is blemishless and clear. I indeed am Brahman, which is the clarity of the pure mind. I indeed am Brahman, which is the self-luminous light. I indeed am Brahman, which is without bondage. Being of such bhava, conviction, or attitude, again and again, become yourself, the Supreme. I indeed am the veilless Supreme Brahman. I indeed am the ever pure Supreme Brahman. I indeed am the Supreme Brahman with no trace of movement or non-movement. I am indeed the Supreme Brahman, which is devoid of the world, the individual, and the Supreme. I indeed am the Supreme Brahman, which is unequaled and equipoised. I indeed am the Supreme Brahman, which stands alone by itself. I indeed am the Supreme Brahman, which is the high and the low. Being of such bhava, conviction, or attitude, again and again, become yourself, the Supreme. If you are not continuously of such bhava, conviction, or attitude, the distortions of the restless mind will not cease. Is it not the distortion of the restless mind that gives rise to the misery of this world? Tell me, how will the mind's real nature, whole and faultless, be impressed upon the understanding of those who have not had the distortion of their mind destroyed by such deep daily bhava, conviction, or attitude? How will the wearisome How will the wearisome bondage of worldly existence be loosened for those who wander about without being established in their own nature? However they try, the base bondage of worldly existence can never be destroyed for those who have not found their true nature, as the wrong understandings of the restless mind are resolutely destroyed for those who adapt an unwavering conviction or attitude. Their natural state will result without any taint of veiling or confusion. Hence, all differences due to mental delusion should be demolished completely, and the state of the undivided nature established by always practicing the bhava, conviction or attitude, of the undivided absolute. The conviction or attitude itself will not arise in the minds that are not of an inquiring nature. The non inquiring mind is the enemy because of which people get submerged in the ocean of the birth death cycle. Seems like we've touched on the root of suffering yet again.
Yeah, the non-inquiring mind really causes a lot of suffering. Like, I live with my mother, and like I can just see how she makes herself suffer. Like every now and again, she comes out with things, and like she's totally like just believing her thoughts. And somehow I know she can't really hear me. Well, I don't really know. She might be able to hear me, but you can't help but like say, I'm just like, but like you didn't even question that thought. This is how I respond. It's like you're just taking that thought as true, but it's not even true. Like it's just so funny. But like I don't know if like maybe you can't really say that we're the cause of our own suffering like that, because maybe it started as soon as we're born, but we definitely fuel it by not
Mm,
inquiring. Because if you inquire into any thought, you'll find that it's not based in anything true. So it's just like, I mean, it was already obvious to me anyway, but sometimes life just gives you a play just to show you, like, wow. Like, so she was having a kind of a meltdown and like saying lots of things that were in her mind. It's like, wow, like you can just, it's just so obvious how she's the cause of her own suffering
mm.
just because of not questioning the thoughts. Like, amazing.
We both need to hold your mom in deep compassion
Yeah, I
so
know.
that suffering is released.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It's like you can do that for people, but there's no way out like that. Like everybody has to do it for themselves.
Mm,
Like, yeah, you can love people through it, and they are loved, but still, you don't escape like that. You don't
mm,
escape from bondage. It's like the only, like, yeah, really the only way out is through. Like someone, I feel like life is kind of very loving like that and kind. It's like God or truth or something doesn't just come and kind of take all those false things away from us. We have to kind of be willing
mm,
and um kind of choose it. So it's our own choice. Like in a way we want to. Like, it would be wonderful. So I can see her, I can see that she's suffering, and I can see that she's causing her own suffering. And of course I don't want her to suffer. So I'd like to be able to take it away from her, but I also see that she has to want to, or be willing. It's not that, because nobody really wants to suffer. I feel like nobody wants to suffer, but it's just like that. Like, yeah, she believes the thoughts, so
mm,
there's no willingness to question the thoughts. It's like they're just taking a face value, no matter
mm,
what it is. That's what happens as soon as we're born, I suppose, because we're just born, and then like everyone around us starts telling us what things are. So as soon as someone tells us what something is, it's a lie. Because no one knows what anything is. So it's like, oh, look at that, like whatever it is, the sky or whatever labels we add things, like what it is. Like, so it's a lie straight away. Like we're fed lies, and we don't, of course, like as a baby child, we don't really question anything. You just take everything. It's kind of like meant to be like that
mm.
somehow. So I don't know, even that what comes to us, like initiative maybe to question. Like that's just total grace. You know, I can feel like it just arises in you at some stage, like to actually question what's going. But that, and it does. But like that's grace that makes that happen. So yeah, I suppose you can pray for grace for people, isn't it? Because you're praying from grace. I'm just like totally having a monologue now. But you're praying from grace, but like the grace that's here and the grace that's seemingly somewhere else. Obviously, there's no somewhere else. It's the same grace. So you can ask for that.
So Ribhu is echoing exactly what you're saying about I want to label it mature, the mature intention to inquire.
Yeah.
And he's talking about the danger of failing to hear. Knowledgeless non-inquiry is the abode of ignorance. Let me try that again. Knowledgeless non-inquiry is the abode of ignorance. It will hide from sight the knowledge that can confer endless blessings. Instead, it will project an insurmountable imagination. It will not let one abide in the perfectly full nature. It is the seed without peer for all overwhelming fear. In a trice, it will accumulate sankalpa, fixed concept or fixed idea, and vikalpa, doubt, difference, imagination, and a million modifications of the mind. Why dilate upon this? Non-inquiry will drown everyone in the sea of worldly misery. There is no greater enemy anywhere equal to non-inquiry.
This is brilliant. Where is it? What number are you?
This is, I'm in the middle of 20.
Okay, it's great.
Shall I finish the verse?
Yes, yes.
Therefore, conquer this enemy, non-inquiry, by the inquiry into the undivided absolute, and attaining undivided knowledge by your conviction or attitude, be of the nature of mere truth.
I want to read it again. Just because I wanted to enter deeper or something. I don't know. I just want to read it again. I want to hear it again. Why dilate upon this? Non-inquiry will drown everyone in the sea of worldly misery. Isn't that amazing? Like, it's so clear. Non-inquiry will drown everyone in the sea of worldly misery. There is no greater enemy anywhere equal to non-inquiry. It's really so powerful here right now because I've just been really seeing that, you know, like, whoa. Therefore, conquer this enemy, non-inquiry, by the inquiry into the undivided absolute, and attaining undivided knowledge by your bhava, conviction attitude, be of the nature of mere truth. Which is really what all the teachers that I know are saying, is inquire, inquire, inquire. You know, Ramana Maharshi, who am I? Inquire into your true nature. Isn't it? Even like Byron Katie is inquiring into each individual thought. Is it true? I don't know if you know her. Yeah, just like everyone is like inquiry, inquiry, inquiry. It's like sometimes like teachers have like a little bit of a different slant on it, but it's really just the same thing. And inquiring into your thought or inquiring into like, who am I? It's the same thing actually. It doesn't really matter what slant you take. Inquiry, inquiry, inquiry. It's like non-inquiry is kind of like, I don't know if this is like true now, I'm just saying just exploring what's coming up inside. But like non-inquiry is kind of like almost like assuming that you know something, you know, so whatever it is, it's like, I just know. You just know it. Like, you don't need to question it. Like, if you know something, you don't need to question it, isn't it? But like, if you, as soon as you question something, you don't know. And really, these words are a bit not exactly right, but like, but like, that's what kind of truth is, not knowing. Like, we really don't know. We can't say what truth is. Like, in a way, you're kind of like discovering ourselves to be something, like we're giving ourselves words, you know, truth or supreme Brahman, but really we don't know what that is. You can't say what it is. You can kind of experience it, and you can kind of be in awe or something like or something like even those words aren't right, but you can't say what it is. And yeah, I don't know. Yeah, so non-inquiry is like, yeah, to assume that you know something, and we never really do.
What comes home on this side is the relationship between the word ignorance and just the verb ignoring. What are we not paying attention to that's
Yeah,
resulting in ignorance?
that's really good. Yeah, what are we not paying attention to? That's it, because we use everything else to not pay attention, actually, isn't it? Like, so we're not paying attention to like what's really here by using a story about, like, we know something, whatever it is, like thought that's coming. Oh yeah, I know that that's really happening, or I know that this is what this really is, or whatever it is. And that's just like, it's kind of like a cover up. Yeah, a way to ignore ignorance. Yeah, that was good.
Let me take verse 21 and then stop. And maybe there's something to be said. Maybe you want to read it over again, or maybe we just move on. But what is this inquiry into the undivided absolute? Who am I? What is this world? What is in this? What is the supreme truth? Asking of the Sadguru, the true Guru, and by Vedanta, having the certitude of Brahman and the truth that I am Brahman, the world is Brahman, and whatever else exists anywhere in this, is the undivided supreme Brahman, is the inquiry.
I can see why it's my favorite chapter. I have to have like a difference with Ramana Maharishi. I'm sorry. It's okay. It's okay to have differences, even with like the greatest sage. I don't mind. I don't have a problem. It's like, I feel like anyone who comes to the idea of inquiry is like, that's kind of like a blessing, isn't it? There's like, there's many beings who aren't questioning anything. No, they must be questioning some. I don't know if there is beings who don't question anything at all. There might be though. But there's definitely beings who are going around who aren't, seemingly, who aren't questioning a lot. So to come to that, I don't know if idea is the right word, but like idea to question, that's like that's grace in its highest form, maybe. Or I don't know if there is a highest form, but one of the highest forms. Yeah. So it feels like it just loosens everything up. Like, to question something, it's like, wow. because we have all these ideas that are just assumed, and like somehow like I get in the pictures of like, you know, I often talk like that, like knots. Like we have a, like if each of those is an idea and then like they're knotted up together like this. So it's unquestioned, it's staying like that. But to put inquiry in the mix, it's like it opens each out and you can see it, and then it's like, oh, actually it's actually this. It's not this at all. And it's not each thought. It's like all of those thoughts just came from here. So it's like, but inquiry is that like magic, isn't it? Yeah. And it really doesn't matter how long it takes, you know, or it really doesn't matter if you have to inquire, you know, like sometimes when we're on the spiritual path or something, it's like, oh, why do I have to question this again, you know? Or like, you know, it can be like that, you know, like it really doesn't matter. Like if you have the ability and the inspiration and the fire to inquire, that's like amazing. That's like the sword. So some kind of magical sword or something. It really doesn't matter. Like we should be just like bending our, like bound down to inquiry. Like so grateful that we have that ability to inquire. It's like fine if I have to do it a million times. Never mind. A million times. It's fine. Okay. Maybe we do have to do it a million times in a way, you know, because there's not only like this body or something. So in a way, there's like, what is there like now on this time? There's like 7 billion bodies. So in those 7 billion bodies, like inquiry has to happen like loads of times. So it is a million times. So consciousness isn't getting tired of questioning, is it? Consciousness is never getting tired of questioning anything, inquiring into itself. You never can. It's like impossible. It'll do it forever, as long as time seems to be there. Like then you can question that, is time even there? Or here? You can question everything.
Amba's smile is my smile.
Yeah.
There's no difference between us.
No.
So glad we're taking this chapter verse by verse. It's beautiful.
Yeah. I don't know how I can get this message to my mother. I can need to give it to her. No.
It's
I'm only
really
half joking.
no, I
2
know.
quarters joking.
No, I know. And you know, indirect communication. I mean, this is Ribhu quoting Shiva, right? So,
Yes.
right. So, you can quote Steve anytime you need to.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes you have to quote someone else, like, you
Right.
know, especially with people who are very close to you somehow. Like I know, like certain people, they can't hear what you say,
Of
and
course
in a
not.
way, you kind of know, like, there's no point in even saying it, but sometimes it just comes out anyway. Can't help it.
Mhm.
But then, like, just using my mother as an example, she'll hear something on the radio. She'll be like, "I heard this on the radio," and I'd be like, "Oh yeah, oh great, that sounds good." Or hear it somewhere else, anywhere else but from here. Yeah, you can't take it when it comes from here. Like she's just like, I don't know what she is. She's just something that grew in my womb. I'm only joking. But it can be like that. I think it is like that often. Not like with my mother and my family, but like just like with many people, you know. Doesn't have to be though.
It's like you're offering up dessert. You know, I'll take mom's portion, no problem. And you don't have to say anything.
Yeah.
Mm.
Will I read a few verses?
If you want to start where we left off, then you would start with verse 22.
Taking refuge in the presence of the Sadguru, true Guru, and resorting to the company of good souls here and there, and attaining steadfast certitude of the Supreme, knowing that all is of the nature of the attributeless Supreme Brahman, and that is ourselves, that is the truth, that the undecaying Brahman indeed is the purport of all Vedanta, is the inquiry that eliminates all weariness. Being firmly established, as just described, in unmixed Vedanta, until all one's doubts that cover the supreme reality are removed, and reasoning by means of various arguments with a concentrated mind, that the Supreme Brahman is all this, that we are that, and that the illusory world is that. That is the truth, and coming to this firm conclusion by wise discernment is the inquiry. It is only knowledgeable inquiry that will destroy ignorance and effectively dispel all illusion, enrich the mind with spotless knowledge, efface all fancy of imagination, establish one in the perfectly full nature, remove the intractable fear of mundane misery, turn impending danger into good fortune, and destroy all the modifications of the mind. It is only for the good souls of the inquiring mind, who have determined that all is the proven Supreme Brahman, and that this pure Brahman is ourselves, that the bhava conviction attitude of being the Supreme will arise. How can such faultless bhava conviction attitudes arise for those weighed down with an adverse, non-inquiring mind that considers I am the body and such, and all this apparent world is real? Hence, it is only for the inquiring heroes that the fickle mind can be firm in that bhava conviction attitude. Delusion of the mind will decrease day by such blemishless conviction attitude. When the delusion is fully destroyed, the presence of the Supreme Brahman will be fully attained. Then the base bondage of worldly existence will be wholly rent asunder, and the limitless bliss of liberation follow. I think I'm going to stop there. That was a good place to stop, I think.
Very good.
Like that, inquiring heroes. But in a way, like, you can't take yourself to be a hero either.
Of course not.
Isn't it?
No.
Because it's like you didn't even do anything for it. It's like it just got given to you. It's like life decides. Life decides who will be a hero. It's really hard to imagine that that opportunity isn't there for everybody, and even that it doesn't occur to everybody. Like, obviously we don't really know, because we can't really know inside someone else's mind or something, but it kind of feels like, well, it's obvious that grace is just here all the time, and it doesn't matter how it shows up. Like, maybe it shows up as inquiry, but maybe sometimes it shows up before that, maybe it shows up as something else. So I actually feel like grace is here for everybody. Like, I can't imagine that there's a life that grace is not touching. I can't even accept it as an idea. Like, it's really hard to believe. Like, I actually just don't believe it. Even, like, I don't know, I have no kind of stories of where that could be true or anything. like everything is completely perfect and in the hands of grace, and all unfolding perfectly as it is, as it's meant to. Like there is no other possibility even. On one level. And on another level, none of this is here. Whatever level you want to take, it's fine. I'm very grateful for our meeting today and our meetings for the whole last year. And I definitely missed the last few weeks that we weren't meeting. Like, it felt like we have to, like the way you said, you sent a message the other day that says Ribhu wants to sing. Yeah, you have to. And I feel like it's very nourishing. Yeah, it's very nourishing to like reconnect with the words of Ribhu.
Oh yeah.
Like, and then not just to connect with the words, but to then see them come to life inside us.
Amen.
Yeah. And maybe one doesn't exist without the other. You know, you can't hear the words or read the words without them coming to life inside us. Thank you for your dedication and for being here all the time. Appreciate it.
Let's pick up this chapter from where we left off next time.
Yeah, will you remember?
Yeah, no problem.
Okay. We'll be on 27, and I really like the number 27, so that's good. I'll probably remember. Well, I probably won't. I do like the number 27.
It's a good number. Yeah.
Yeah.
My love to your mom and your little one and your partner.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Love and blessings to you and your family as well. And your cat.
We'll keep him safe out of the tree for a bit.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.